Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTube. This is weird. I would say hello, welcome back to Thomas Podcast, but this isn't really a Thomas Podcast. This is just a YouTube video with me and John, as you can see on your screen. And we're here
And
to talk about the 20 and Sparky and that random guy in the background who can give.
yeah, I. This is not somebody that I know. This is just somebody that was in the background when we took this photo. I have had a couple of people say to me, "Oh, do you know so and so?" thinking that they know who it is. I don't know who it is. They think they do. If
There we
you're
go.
that guy,
It's a mystery. Vince, Bucket Vince.
yeah. If you're that random guy, then why are you photobombing a picture of my dog in a Tom Baker hat? But I mean, to be fair to him, he's just minding his own business by the looks of it. But
Yeah, he's just doing his own thing.
doing his
Yeah, so last night was the Royal Rumble. Obviously, I did live reactions on the YouTube channel, which actually went down very well. Picked up some new subscribers, so thank you very much for those who have jumped on board since then. We had some good time. We had a good time with good friend Robbie as well, who joined us for that. So, but now me and John, after our predictions podcast, we're going to review our predictions, see what we thought, see how wrong, how right, how we did, and yeah, we'll go from there. So.
I would say initially, for the start off, it'll become clear as we talk through it, but I do feel that at one point we were screwed over by WWE.
Yes, because of a certain announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we filmed these predictions 2 weeks before the like I think 13 days before the Rumble.
Yeah, it was like the Wednesday, so maybe
Like
like
10.
11 days, 11
Yeah.
days. So
Yep.
we had obviously, in order to get it out before the Monday before the Rumble, we had to record it the week before. So essentially, we had two episodes of SmackDown and an episode of Raw between recording that and the Rumble.
In which a lot happened.
A fair amount, yeah.
So let's just dive in with the first thing. The important thing is as well is hang on, I've lost my train of thought. 2 seconds.
I mean, to be fair,
I've,
we are doing this at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it is a bit early for Alex as a student.
yeah. That's why I've got some brain food. But so we started off the night with the women's tag team championship match, which we're going to talk about very quickly, because I don't know what the fuck's going on here, man.
I as we'll touch on again later, I struggle with Nia Jax. She scares me. She has a history of putting people out of action. She needs to work on what she's doing. And so whenever I'm always uncomfortable watching her. Um, this was a bit of a weird one because clearly it looked like we were going somewhere with Charlotte and Asuka as a team, and it looked like they were going to build up that rivalry in the run up to Mania so that we could see Charlotte challenge Asuka. We might still get that,
Yeah,
but it would have made sense for them to either retain the belts for a little bit longer or lose them in another way. Lose them in
yeah,
a
not
way.
on a pre-show. I
Well, no,
mean,
but I mean also in another way in terms of
not Lacey Evans and Ric Flair coming up.
yeah, not through outside interference, but through actually Charlotte or Asuka messing up, or through there being a breakdown in their relationship. It would have just made sense for this to happen after the Rumble.
Yeah, I think as well. Like, I mean, the issue is as well is that I mean, this. I was telling you, I don't care about this match or the belts because WWE don't care about the belts. Like, who's going to challenge Nia and Shayna now? Another two women they're going to randomly put together.
This is
You know,
part of the problem. I mean, this is part of the problem. It's not just a women's division thing. I've never liked it when you have two singles wrestlers just clubbed together as a random team. That's why I was so. Well, it's one of the reasons I was so happy when the Iconics held the belt for a while, because actually you've got a proper tag team there. I can see them holding it until Mania, and then hopefully the Riot Squad will come along and get the belts off them, and we'll actually have a proper women's tag team champion rather than just two single
Yeah,
episodes.
because I know they did it for the equality reason, which is obviously a good reason to do this sort of thing. But you need to have ideas there. You can't just do it. You can't just make the belts and go, well, we'll figure out our division later because there isn't a division.
I mean, I mean, that's the thing. It's not, it's not really doing it properly for the equality reason. It's just ticking a box. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's like, you know, in what kind of world do you go, right? We're going to have women's tag team division. You know, well, we can have women's tag team titles. Oh, right. So what are you going to do about the women's tag team division then?
Nothing.
Uh, you know,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. There've been times when it's worked. As I say, I loved it when the Iconics held the belts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everyone
Um,
loves the iconics anyway.
I loved. I've got to say, I loved Nikki and Alexa.
Yeah, that
When they had the belts.
that's
That
what I
was
was going to
good.
say because there are some times, even in recent history, I know obviously I agree with you. I don't like random singles wrestlers splat together, but there have been some good examples in the recent past. You
Yeah,
know,
you've got
obviously
that.
with the Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, that was they ended
Yeah,
up working out very well. You had Nikki
yeah.
and Alexa.
Going back a bit further, Rock and Sock Connection. Rock and Sock
Yeah, I mean,
Connection.
yeah, that's the perfect. That's like the gold standard.
You know, if you've got that chemistry there, it works. Um, and of course, we'll get onto it more when we actually get to the Women's Rumble.
Yeah, yeah,
But it just seems like there was a promising story there where they could use those titles to tell a story, and they've stepped back from it.
yeah. Right, so let's just quickly get into the finish. So essentially, this match has been a really, essentially a Raw tag team match. There's nothing to this. It doesn't really feel like a pay-per-view title defense at all. It's been like a Raw tag team match. And then Charlotte Flair is about to win. She's on a roll. I think she's already hit at this point a double natural selection. She's on fire. And then you hear, woo! And suddenly Ric Flair's coming out, styling, profiling. And he's with Lacey Evans. And essentially, Lacey Evans first like stops a pinfall for Charlotte. That don't work. She's back. She's going for it. Essentially, the whole point is that it should be distracting Charlotte, but Charlotte is still going. She's still got it until Lacey hits a women's right, assisted by some kind of rock. I think because it's not brass knucks. I watched the replay. It's some kind of rock that he puts in her hand or something. Women's right to Charlotte. Leg drop to the back of the neck by Nia Jax. 1, 2, 3. Your new champions. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm going to give this. I'm going to try and give every match a star rating. I'm going to give this match a 2-star out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pre-show match. It was clearly a pre-show match, and it played out like a pre-show match. It played
Yeah.
out like, well, this is the one we're giving people for free. I might have rated it a little higher if it had kind of furthered the Charlotte Lacey feud, but even then, as we'll get onto, it didn't really.
It didn't do anything. No. The thing that happened in the Rumble was actually better than what they did here. But anyway, we'll get to that later. So also after this match, they kind of scare us all shitless because the pre-show panel announced starting the show it's going to be Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre. And in my head, I go, they're going to do this so people don't leave being pissed off. That's why they're going to do it. They're going to give Goldberg the win early on so people don't leave pissed. Or, you know, or it'll just work out. Well, we know now, but yeah.
I wasn't quite going down that bad a rabbit hole. I think my basic thought on it was this is going to be quick, this is going to be short. They don't want people leaving feeling shortchanged. So they're going to get the quick and dirty match over with to start with. I did wonder if somebody would be, whoever lost the match would be doing double duty as a result. You know, that's often something they'll do. If they stick something on the start of the card,
Yep.
it means that they're coming on later. I mean, I'll never forget the first was it Elimination Chamber 2006? Like the first match that night was an Intercontinental Championship match where Edge lost the belt to Flair pretty quickly. And the whole reason they did that was because Edge was going to come out at the end after the Chamber match, spear Cena a couple of times and cash in Money in the Bank.
Yep.
So, you know, sometimes there's a reason that stuff goes on early.
But you never know with Monday, Vince McMahon and WWE booking. So anyway, we start the night properly with Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre. And, well, it's an interesting one. Essentially, we get the start before the bell rings. Drew McIntyre headbutts Goldberg, goes for a Claymore, misses. Goldberg sends him to the outside, a spear to the barricade into into the Thunderdome, into the virtual crowd. And from there, it's essentially your Goldberg match. Some finishes, a jackhammer here, a spear there, a Claymore here. I don't think Drew hit the Future Shock DDT at any point. But either way, after the bell rings, they get back in the ring very, very quickly. Goldberg hits one spear, Drew kicks out. He hits one jackhammer, Drew kicks out. And then he's about to go for a third spear. Drew sidesteps him, Claymore, 1-2, kick out. Another spear by Goldberg. Drew kicks out. Another a little bit of wrestling for like 10 seconds. Another Claymore, and 1-2-3. Drew McIntyre retains the WWE Championship. I mean, there's not much you can really say, is there?
And the whole world breathes a sigh of relief.
Yeah. It was sort of funny though that Goldberg actually lost a tooth. You have to see him spit out a tooth at one point, and you see Drew laugh.
It was a standard Goldberg match. It was quick. There wasn't a lot of actual wrestling. It was just the kind of photo finisher, photo get your camera out moments, even though there's not a crowd there. What made me chuckle a bit was at the end of the match when Goldberg turned around to Drew and said, "You've earned my respect." And I was like, Drew didn't really like it, in what build up to this has been, which has been minimal. Drew hasn't
it's been false.
Yeah, he's not been that bothered about Goldberg's respect.
Hmm.
And it was actually Goldberg that wanted Drew to respect him. It was just bizarre. It was a weird way to get Goldberg on. I do wonder if there's something in Goldberg's contract that says he has to have X number of appearances a year, and normally they would do them for the Saudi shows, which obviously aren't happening at the moment. So they popped him into a Rumble title match.
Yeah, they just scared all of us by.
Yeah, just thank the Lord that we got the outcome that we did, because I think everybody, when that was announced, got a little bit nervy in terms of thinking that they were going to do exactly what they did with the Fiend last year.
Yeah.
And thankfully we didn't go there. And
Yeah,
hopefully we've now seen the last of Mr. Goldberg for a while.
At least in the title picture. At least, he can go back and do whatever he wants. Just don't do it in the title picture.
Yeah, I mean, what else is he going to do with him? It's like zero relevance. Like, to me, it's just, it's not like there's anybody that he could sort of realistically feud with. The only person really is Roman, and Roman's got a belt, so I don't want him anywhere near that. It was just a really bizarre piece of booking when actually, sorry, there's far more deserving guys on Raw that could have got a title shot.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to give this one 2.5 star. The half star is for the Drew victory, but again, this is a nothing match. Again, it was sort of a weird start to the Rumble, in which I'll tell you now, this show picks up very, very nicely in the next coming matches. But so far, I was left a bit deflated.
I mean, for me, it's 2.5 stars for the match, 5 stars for the result.
Yep. Yeah. Next up, we go to Sasha Banks defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Carmella, and she is joined by her buddy, who I forgot the name of, but
Reginald, isn't it?
Reginald, yes, she's accompanied by Reginald.
Reginald the Sommelier.
Yes, Reginald, and well, this match, this match is actually really good. It's a lot shorter than their last affair. Was it TLC? Was that the last paper?
Yeah.
it's a lot, obviously, because we've got two rumbles to fit on the card, which I understand. But this essentially just their best hits, not in the Drew Goldberg sense, it's like finisher. But it's just like, okay, we got to kind of get every plot beat done 2 times speed. But this match is really good. There was still some really, really good moments. Carmella is probably in the best run of her career right now. And there was obviously 2 weeks ago, Reginald had a match with Sasha Banks. So you get a bit more of that here, where I believe Sasha Banks hits a Hurricane Run on Reginald at one point. But Reginald gets ejected quite early on. Sasha Banks essentially does what she does best, and she channels her inner Eddie Guerrero, and she kind of gets Reginald to look like he's done something when he's actually not done too much. And he gets ejected. Carmella is pissed. She's not having it. She's angry. She goes for her submission finisher. A few more moves later, Sasha Banks looks in the back statement, and Carmella taps out very, very quickly.
Yeah, it was good. It was solid. Sasha has a way of bringing the best out of people, and she's brought the best out of Carmella in this feud. You know, it's really like Carmella's upped it a notch because she's got a really good opponent. There's actually a bit that I wanted to sort of touch on here. The dive that Carmella does to the outside
Oh, I remember that.
is brutal. You know, it looks brutal.
Yeah.
He pretty much face plants. But what like this is why I love Sasha Banks. This is what a pro Sasha Banks is. She, you know, Carmella's done this brutal dive. After something like that, you don't really know what condition somebody can be in. And when you watch it on a replay, Sasha just gives her a little tap on the back and a little look and just say, "Are you okay? Are you,
Yeah.
you know, are you okay to continue?" And it's brilliant. You know, that is what a pro Sasha Banks is.
Yeah.
Because it's not a sort of audible call that you'd get with, say, a Triple H or a Cena or something like that. But it's just that kind of looking after your opponent and making sure that everything's okay. And yeah, I thought that was great. I really enjoyed that match.
Yeah, it was solid. It was a solid fare for the women's championship. At the end of the match, you also get a very sassy moment with Sasha Banks looking with her back towards the side, pointing backwards at the WrestleMania side. Um, so we know we Sasha Banks is ready to go to WrestleMania, but I think she's still got 2 pay-per-views to go yet, so don't get too excited. But yeah,
I
another solid match.
I mean, I'd be very surprised if she's not defending the belt at Mania. I
I'm
mean,
gonna
it's
get
possible, but I'd be very surprised.
Indeed. I'm gonna go with 3 stars for this one. For me.
3.5 for me. You know, it in the time that they were given, which you know they were never going to get much more time than that, given what's to come. In the time that they were given, I think they really made the most of it. And it's been a really good feud. I mean, it looks like the feud's over, which is a shame because I think it really has brought the best out of Carmella. But yeah, it was maybe not quite as good as the TLC match, but it's still really quality for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree with that. But next we get the first of our 2 Royal Rumble matches. And this is the women's Royal match. And yeah, let's just get into it. So number 1 was Bailey, and she has got Cole engraved in her hair, even though Michael Cole is not on commentary for this match, which she's very upset about because she likes to antagonize Michael Cole. And number 2 was Naomi, which is kind of nice. Nice to see Naomi in this sort of slot. They sort of have a very good. Well, I'm not going to go through every plot beat at the Rumble, but I'll go through the important ones. So then number 3 was I believe my pick, or one of my picks to get to win the Rumble was Bianca Belair. Number 3, and she's obviously had this feud. She's had this feud with Bailey of who's going to eliminate who. It's sort of been the big thing, and we'll get on to how they mess that up later on. Number 4 was Billie Kay, and obviously she's got this whole 8x10 thing. She conveniently has a chair at commentary. So that was the only thing that I didn't like. I wish she kind of like ousted one of them. It's going to like, no, you disappear for a bit. But that means now for at least 4 or 5 competitors, she's going to go every time to the ramp and like, yeah, let's team up, let's go. I believe she interacts with Shayna Baszler, Toni Storm, Shotzi Blackheart, and then finally a returning. Yeah, Shotzi's got her tag, but also then finally a returning Jillian Hall. who is wonderfully, awfully singing her entrance theme like she always used to do. And Billy and Jilly, as they call themselves, to get in the ring, and they're doing it right for a little bit. Then we get some other competitors, some members of the Riot Squad. I know that much. Charlotte Flair came in around this time for a bit as well. Some other big returns. We got Victoria.
Peyton came out just before Charlotte. Peyton always gets a mention.
Peyton has to get. We also got the return of Victoria at some point, which was really cool. That was always great. And not many returns in this women's match compared to the last couple of years, obviously with the pandemic and things like that. You know, we weren't expecting too many massive returns. We're just going to kind of be like, it's going to be a lot of NXT people that get brought up, you know, which is what we got as well. Which is always nice to see them on the on the big stage. But another little sort of plot of this Rumble was the whole Billy Kay and Peyton Royce in the ring together. They do a double team move. They're about to do the iconic. But then, obviously, because Billy Kay is currently dealing with the Riot Squad, which is part of their crew, Ruby Riot's looking over like, "What are you doing?" So that you know, it's all good. And then Peyton's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
So then, unfortunately, the Riot Squad, Jillian turns on Billy, and the Riot Squad eliminate both Billy Kay and Jillian Hall. And there is a great shot in the background of Peyton Royce just looking incredibly annoyed. Then around this time, Charlotte comes in. She does some of her great moves for a bit, and essentially more names are piling up and piling up and piling up until eventually we get Ric Flair's music hit, and we're going, "Oh no!" I actually fell for this as well. I was laughing my head off. I was like, "Yes, how amazing would it be?" But no, he's of course only here to introduce Lacey Evans, who there's this brilliant moment in this Rumble as well where Charlotte essentially is like, "No, get out of the way, get out of the way. I've got her." Like, she don't care about the rest of the match at the minute. She just wants to kick the crap out of Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans is walking down to the ring in a Ric Flair robe as well. She does like a whole entrance. She turns her back to look at the hard cam, and that is obviously a big mistake. Her and Charlotte brawl on the outside for a little bit as well, which is really cool. Again, around this,
the ring gets covered in feathers from the rope.
Yeah, the ring. Yeah, I remember you texted me that. You're like, "But the ring's covered in feathers now." But as well, other notable names that have come in at this point, Nikki Cross comes in very soon after. Then we get the likes of your Taminas, your Nia Jaxes. The ring's such filling up with all the stars. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax obviously team up to eliminate a lot of people. But also, you cannot forget Rhea Ripley, who came up essentially midway through the Rumble, and just cleaned house.
I was just going to say, I think you've forgotten someone.
Yes, I forgot one of the biggest competitors in the match. But Rhea Ripley comes in at around maybe 11 or 12 and just starts cleaning house. She doesn't really do too much in terms of like amazing moments until we get towards the end, but she's always there. She's always that presence of just she's going to throw some people out, and she does really well here. And then around the middle point, so Bianca eliminates Bayley, but the camera misses it because it's at the same time as the Charlotte and Lacey stuff, and you missed one of the biggest eliminations in the Rumble.
And I gotta say, I was sat there like, what happened there? Because they were focusing on the Charlotte Lacey stuff, and then it was almost like a kind of throwaway. Oh, Bailey's gone, and it's like, they clearly they've ballsed up on that somewhere.
Yeah.
But it happens.
Yeah, it happens. And then our last few entrants were obviously you had the returning Lana, which John foresaw, and Lana does get her revenge on Nia Jax as well. That was really nice. At this point, Nia has also eliminated Shayna Baszler, I have to say. So we are losing names that could actually win the Rumble. And then finally,
literally an hour after winning the tag belts, we've already got our tag champions falling out with each other. What's the point?
There is none. And then so then the last person is Natalya, and essentially after a bunch of eliminations, we're down to the final four of Bianca Belair, Natalya, Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley. And this is genuinely one of the best final fours in Rumble history. I mean, especially the last two and the last three, because Natalya kind of gets ousted quite quickly. But then we're down to 3, and it becomes Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair taking on Charlotte Flair, which essentially Charlotte is sort of the John Cena of the women's division. They will essentially always go back to Charlotte whenever they want, a safe championship reign.
I mean, except she can wrestle.
John Cena can wrestle now. He's good. Leave him alone. Are you not a John Cena fan, John?
I like John Cena, but I do like the joke that he can't wrestle.
I like the fact now that I like the fact now he leans into it as well. He's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw him on. I don't know if you saw it, but around this time last year, he was on the Graham Norton show.
Yeah.
They actually got him singing the "Let's Go Cena Circus" with the audience on the Graham Norton show. He was great.
Yeah. No, he's a funny bloke. He also was on the WrestleMania advert for the 3 WrestleManias that came up as "You Can't See Me." Which was, did you see that?
Yeah, I took offense.
Oh no, WWE's gonna get sued. Via John Cut. But so we're down to the last 3, and essentially it comes down to Rhea and Bianca teaming up to help each other, but they take it, so they eliminate Charlotte, but they also both go over the top rope, and they're doing like the Shawn Michaels dangling position, but they're both doing it. So both their feet are almost touching the floor. One of their feet touches the floor at one point, and essentially they have a truce to team up and get back in the ring and have a proper one-on-one. And this one-on-one is up there with some of the best one-on-ones in Rumble history. I mean, I'm talking, like Undertaker, Shawn, Sheamus, Jericho. This was like, you didn't know who was going to win.
Was it? Am I misremembering it, or was it earlier in the match? Was it Rhea who got herself back into? No, it wasn't Rhea who got herself back into the ring by literally climbing Bianca's hair.
That was Naomi, I think.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Yeah, it was obviously because we're now in the Tropicana fields. They couldn't really do any cool crowd popping moments because there's no real crowd to pop. So unfortunately, no, we didn't do anything too crazy. But again, there's no crowd to pops. There's no real reason to do anything too.
Yeah, I mean, Naomi did hit the ground at one point, but her feet were in the air, and she sort of, yes, that's right. She climbed back in using Bianca's hair, didn't she? But that was quite cool.
Yeah, I do. By the way, I do apologize if I miss things. For us in the UK, this is already like 2:30 in the morning. And I'm already a few drinks in because I drank a lot before the Goldberg match just to prepare myself. But yeah, so we're down to the last 2, and it becomes a very, very good showing between the 2. It's like 5 minutes, and then just go trying to eliminate each other, and eventually Bianca Belair wins the Women's Royal Rumble. And she's in tears, and it's just a beautiful moment to see.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, this was a great match. Actually, it was match of the night for me.
I think the men's was better.
Oh, that's a better differ on that. No, it was match of the night for me. I loved the fact that for a large part of the early part of the match, they paired off Bianca and Bianca and Naomi, because actually they were working really well together. They were so watchable together. Billy was just like the non-wrestling MVP of the match. She was hilarious for the entire thing. Nia Jax still makes me uncomfortable and scares me. But yeah, and we got just a great result. The whole thing was plotted, it was booked exceptionally. I loved it. I have one problem with it. Unfortunately, it is something that you've not mentioned, so I'm going to have to. What the hell was going on with the 24/7 stuff? Why have we got a 24/7 run-in the middle of a Women's Royal Rumble?
It's weird, isn't it?
It's like, for me, it's almost like they're saying, oh, you've been watching women for half an hour, here's a bunch of lower card men just to run around because they've not been on telly, so you can watch them. You
I
know,
mean,
they
I sort of found the joke funny of R-Truth getting the Rumble wrong, but he didn't even come out at 21 anyway in the men's, so the joke was sort of futile.
yeah. I mean, it's just. Yeah, it just seemed a bit pointless, and they could have. It was just unnecessary, really. I think it cheapened what for me was otherwise an excellent match. Um, you know, the people that did return, it was good to see them. They, you know, you sort of Victoria, your Gillian Hall, great to see them back. Obviously, Lana coming back and getting that little bit of a fairy tale moment. The hint of a Nia Shayna implosion was great. The initial bit of the Charlotte Lacey stuff was good, but then I was like, I don't think it was Charlotte that actually eliminated Lacey. So if you're going to further that feud, you need to have one of them being integral in the elimination of the other, or Lacey coming back down towards the end and leading to Charlotte's elimination. Because you know they seem to still be wanting to go somewhere with that feud, so that just seemed a bit weird. But
Yeah, I'm with you. For me,
but yeah, generally, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was
yeah.
fantastic.
For me, it was credit to both Rumbles because I'm going to give this Rumble 4 stars out of 5. I thought this Rumble was fantastic. But I just slightly preferred the men's more for kind of the reasons you've already brought up, and we'll get into the men's Rumble in a bit. Also, as well, I do want to point out we did miss I missed a segment. It's not your fault. I missed a segment earlier on in the show where the New Day are backstage and they are wearing Luke Harper gear, or
I was going
or
to mention that
Huber.
during the Rumble match itself, but yeah, that's a very fair point.
Or John Huber gear, whatever you want to say. It was such a touching tribute. Kofi Kingston, who is obviously injured at the moment, even popped up in the gear backstage. Just enjoyed the segment and have it. It was a lovely moment.
Yeah, I mean that did also unfortunately have a little bit of a sort of Sami Zayn Vince McMahon moment, didn't he? Where Sami assumed that Xavier Woods was Big E's brother.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like I get how for a heel that's quite a funny sort of thing, but like you don't need to go there.
No, but anything Sami Zayn is good for me, so I'm not
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I love the guy. I love that gimmick, but it was just like it's just I was sat there like at 3 a.m. just groaning.
Yeah. And then next up we have the last man standing match for the Universal Championship.
I mean,
But
by the way, my star rating for the women's rumble would be 4.5. It only loses that half star because of the 24/7 shit.
yeah, I do think there's been one better women's rumble, so that's why I didn't go to the 4.5 star. Which for me was on my Becky Lynch one, just because of that moment alone is like one of the best rumble moments in history. So yeah. Now though, it's Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. The head of the table versus the Valiant Fighter, and boy did they fight. Oh, I'm gonna miss some bits here. But essentially, where this match starts is essentially they're in the ring for a bit, but they essentially they just go into the crowd. They're going up through the screens and things like that. There is a great moment where Roman sends Kevin Owens to a table on a large bump. And you think that's the worst it's going to get? No, 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 no. So yeah, Kevin Owens gets back up. They brawl to the outside to essentially the larger bit of Tropicana Fields, and you can kind of see how big the arena actually is when it's not just it's massive. There's a table set up. Kevin Owens puts Roman Reigns through the table, and that doesn't help. That don't work. So he's like, "Oh, I see a forklift. There is another table beside this. I'm going to go and kill myself." He gets on top of the forklift and jumps off the forklift and lands on Roman Reigns, and you can just see the pain that they're in. Whew, yowzers! That doesn't defeat Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens hits stunner after stunner. Roman's still getting up, and to the point where Kevin Owens gets some handcuffs and handcuffs Roman to the barrier, or like
And
a light.
they were initially Roman's handcuffs, weren't they?
Oh, were
But
they?
Roman was one hand that brought them into the match.
But KO, okay, so KO steals the handcuffs and locks Roman into like a light rig, and Roman can't get up because actually if he can't raise his arm because it's actually brilliantly well done, and
Yeah,
the referee's going to
they've
count.
got it at such an angle that he literally cannot stand.
Yeah. And then, but the referee's about to get to count to 9 until Roman pulls his shirt down. Actually, it's one of the ref bumps that kind of works because the ref actually hit his head on the light rig. It's not just like Roman just head butted him and he's down for 10 minutes. Like, and then and then Paul Heyman comes out during this and is like trying to get the handcuffs off, and then the referee starts counting, and the referee has to stop counting because Paul can't get the handcuffs off quick enough.
Yeah, the referee gets to 7.
Yeah,
he's counting at normal pace, gets to 7, and then just stops.
yeah.
Because for another 30 seconds, they're trying to get the handcuffs off. I mean, a mate of mine made a very good point this morning in terms of why did they actually lock the handcuffs? You know, there would have been some way to just pretend that they'd been locked in place.
Yeah. Either way, it didn't really ruin the emotion of the match too much. But then Roman comes back, essentially locks Kevin Owens in a guillotine for what felt like almost a minute, 30 seconds, and that gets KO out like a light. Still, your Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. No Jey Uso interference, no nothing. Just
Do you know what you forgot?
what?
The freaking golf cart.
Oh, yes.
So when they're going out, like when KO initially goes out to the back after taking the bump through the table off of the crowd, he goes out to the back and he sort of sees this training ring in the background. And he's making his way toward the training ring. It's done so cleverly with the camera angle, you don't see it coming. He's just blindsided from the right by Roman driving a golf cart, and like literally in a sort of throwback to, oh my God, Austin's been hit by a car.
Yeah.
It's Roman hitting him with a golf cart. I mean, but for a few seconds, I thought it was Rikishi. I've got to be honest. I thought he was doing it.
What a callback that would have been.
Yeah,
I did it for The Rock.
I thought Rikishi was doing it for the Samoans again. But you know, yeah, and like Kevin was down for like how he got that's the point at which he had to start using the sort of tables and walls to get back up. But I mean, yeah, it was an incredible match with some great spots.
Yeah, So the reason I had to whisk through that is because this match was actually like half an hour long. But because this is a YouTube video and not a podcast, I don't want me and Johnny to be here for an hour and a half because I don't want you to be here too long. And you know what? But and especially because the Rumble matches are what we're here to talk about. Although this was a very good match, I'm actually going to give it 4.5 stars out of 5. I think this is their best of their matches because it had a bit of Paul Heyman interference, but it didn't have too much. Jey Uso's going to come in and ruin everything, but KO's going to keep going until Jey. I think this was the best of the matches. I think it was great. There was actually this is probably the most brutal of their matches. When you didn't think it could get any worse after the TLC match, it somehow did. They somehow upped the ante, and 4.5 stars for me.
It was insane. It was insane, and I've got to agree with that. 4.5 stars from me as well.
Right, now we're on to the main event of the evening. It's the men's Royal Rumble match. And for some reason, they revealed who won and two are. I thought it got leaked because John texted me before, but it didn't get leaked. They just announced.
Yeah, they announced it.
Which kind of ruins the kayfabe of you're meant to draw it out on the night, and that's what you get. Yeah. But no.
I mean, it's not it's not the first time they've done that. They've done it several times in the past where they've sort of predetermined somebody to be number 1 or somebody to be number 2, somebody to be number 30. But yeah, it does kind of break the illusion a little bit until you realize that actually the people that were drawn at number 1 and number 2 got it wrong and came out the other way round in the match.
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, it was Edge and then it was Randy, but Randy must have been taking a toilet break or something because Edge came out first.
Yep, Edge, number one. I do like how in this match though, as soon as Randy goes to make his entrance, Edge bolts up the ring. He's not having it. They're having a fight outside the ring, and it's all pretty good. They're not really in the ring for the first couple minutes of the match. Who draws number 3? Of course, it's Sami Zayn, and he's gonna be like, he's like three, really, because he thinks there's a conspiracy against him. He's not having it.
Because he's getting screwed over left, right, and center.
Yeah, and then essentially, again, it does very well to build up. There's a bunch of heels that come in. I think number 4 is Mustafa Ali because now they're all just ganging up on Edge. Edge essentially getting beat up by Randy, by Sammy, and by Mustafa. And so number 5, Jeff Hardy comes out and obviously ups the ante a little bit. It doesn't help out Edge, but obviously takes out some of the heels, and that enables Edge and Randy Orton to bow to the outside again. They go to the announce table. There's an execution DDT on the announce table, and it injures Randy Orton.
It would have been very entertaining if Jeff Hardy had helped out Edge, given the history between Edge and the Hardy family.
Yeah, but I feel like it may have cheapened the moment that came later on in the match. But yeah, so Randy Orton's out. He's injured. He is out of the Rumble. He's done. That's it. He's gone. Keep that in mind. So then the ring keeps filling up with names like Big E, Elias, some people like that. We do get some interesting people coming back, like Hurricane was one of them. I know it was quite late on, but
Carlito came back, and
he likes to spit in the face of people who try to be cool.
Always up for Carlito.
Yeah, he's 41 now. Jesus.
Yeah, and we got Kane.
Kane.
It's gotta be Kane.
Yeah. It's gotta be Kane. I'll save the big return. I said the 2 big returns for later. Or 3. There's 3 actually. There's 3 in the last 6 names of kind of returns. But yeah, so we're just getting a few names. Obviously, the names we think we might win. Shinsuke Nakamura gets very shortchanged in this match because he was like one of the people that they've been building up. He's in at number 10. He just gets eliminated by King Corbin. I think it's like what. Yeah.
Corbin actually had a decent, he had a decent little showing. He slugged out 2 or 3 people.
Yeah. We also see names like Sheamus, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles with Omos, who is a bit of a ledge. I do like Omos. I think he's cool.
Massive.
Yeah, he's massive. We also get obviously Cesaro as a D-Bry. The ring's filling up essentially. Edge is still going. Edge is still cooking. But yeah, the names are bigging up until we get to around 23, 24. Oh, who could this be? Number 24 is a returning Captain Charisma, and I literally heard that and I went, yes, I love it.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it's so good. This is sort of the contrast with the Women's Royal Rumble for me, is that to this point, until Christian, last 6-7 days, I would say the Women's Rumble was better, but I think the last 20 or so minutes of the Men's Rumble just top it slightly for me. Even though the Women's Rumble was very, very good at the end, as I said before, I think there's something about this match towards the end that just picked up big time by a lot.
I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish on the little commentary and then give you my thoughts.
Yeah. But so then 25 is 25 and 26 aren't really anybody.
25 is AJ, isn't it?
Sorry, 25 is AJ. 27 was somebody, but I can't remember who it was. Obviously, the luckiest number.
Cesaro comes out at 28.
Yeah,
and then 26 and 27.
But 29 and 30 are 2 big returns. First of all, we get the return of the Monday Night Messiah. Well, he's not the Friday Night Messiah, but still. Seth Rollins, which is really good. They actually pipe in cheers for him, which is nice, because I think the crowd would cheer him. But I think Ray
might have been 26 or 27.
Yeah, Ray, Booyaka. But yeah, so Seth Rollins comes out, and then number 30 is the most underwhelming number 30 of all time. It's Braun Strowman. Nobody cares. He's boring. Sorry, but that's just how I think. I don't care for Braun.
He's not wrong, people. He's not wrong.
I would yeah, I don't care. Essentially
I
Braun
don't, I don't,
Strowman.
I don't, I don't want those hands.
Yeah, that's either. But also during this point, Omos is coming out and he's eliminated names such as Big E, and he actually gets into a little bit of a confrontation with Big E. But he also just straight up like German suplexes Rey Mysterio out the ring.
Yeah.
And then
He
essentially the whole
broke
game plan
the,
to
uh,
get AJ
broke the
Styles
record.
eliminated. Braun Strowman's about to eliminate AJ Styles. He's going to throw him in the direction of Omos, but then throws him the other way so that Omos cannot catch AJ Styles and therefore protect him. And yeah, it's insane. We come down to about 4 or 5 people. We got Edge, Christian,
Edge,
Seth
Chris. I think,
Rollins, and Braun Strowman.
I think the last 6 were Edge, Christian,
Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman.
Seth, Braun, Riddle, and D. Bryan.
D. Bryan. Yeah, D. Bryan gets oosted out. He was my pick to win, so I was like, ugh. And then Riddle, thank Christ, went out as well because he's a cunt. Sorry, my opinion again. I hate Riddle.
Not
And then
sure. I'll be getting onto that as well.
we're down to 4. Again, this is a great last 4 because you've got Edge and Christian versus the former Raw tag. It's 2 tag teams. It's both tag team champions. Unless you forget, Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman were tag team champions a few years back. And Seth's like, yeah, let's team up. Let's team up. Let's team up. They do for a bit. And unfortunately,
We're the future. Let's get these guys out.
yeah,
And it's
and
like,
unfortunately
no,
that doesn't go too
you've
well.
been knocking around for about 5 or 6 years now. You
Yeah.
can't call yourselves the future anymore.
No, no. And unfortunately, I believe the first one to go is actually Seth, and then Braun and Christian go at the same time. Is that right?
No.
Oh,
Braun and Christian go, then it's left with just Edge and Seth.
that okay.
Yeah, Braun, there's basically they're all trying to eliminate Braun, and then Seth eliminates Braun and Christian at the same time.
Boo.
And
Then we're down to
Edge and Seth.
We're down to 2, and it's a great bit. I think at this point, because at this point, Seth could actually win. Again, they did very well this year of making you think anybody can win these Rumbles. And although Edge has gone from number 1, he could easily lose to Seth here. And it's a great little back and forth. But Edge finally gets him out. And then we're like, yes! And then you forget Randy Orton's there, hits an RKO. He's going to throw Edge out, and Edge at the last second twists it, eliminates Randy Orton. Edge is your Royal Rumble winner for the men in 2021. And I'll be honest, mate, that last 20 minutes was stellar, I think.
It was good. It was good. I think for me, the end of it all happened a bit quickly. So for me, the Braun and Christian elimination is very shortly before the Seth elimination. There's not a lot of back and forth between the two of them. It's maybe 30 seconds and then Seth's out. Now, here's the thing. When you're watching the Rumble nowadays, certain things have happened so many times before that you're a bit like, you're keeping it in the back of your mind. So for me, when somebody goes to the outside through the middle ropes, running the bottom rope, is supposedly injured, is taken backstage, and it's Randy Orton, I've always got that in the back of my head of Randy still to come. And especially when you've got Edge winning it, in the back of my head, I'm like, nah, Randy's going to come back out. Yeah. Maybe I've, we've seen it before with stuff like Santino. We've seen it before with a couple of others where you think they're eliminated and then they come back out. And I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit too... My memory's just a little bit too good for that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we all knew Randy. I obviously...
Don't get me wrong. The fact that I was expecting it didn't make it any less impactful. It was still great. But I think it was just one of those things in terms of... And, they even mentioned, I think, when we were around entry number 23 or 24, they even mentioned that Randy was backstage and they weren't expecting him to come back out, but he hadn't been eliminated. I think they even mentioned it on commentary.
Yeah. So so would you say two very solid rumbles this year at least? Did you at least enjoy both of them to some degree,
Oh
or
no, I enjoyed them both. Yeah, I enjoyed them both. For me, I prefer the women's rumble. I thought the men's rumble lagged a bit in the middle. Um, Riddle was in it a little bit too long for me. I I,
bro?
I have an issue with Riddle. I think when somebody is that lanky and wears little short pants like that, I cannot get the image of Sagat out of Street Fighter out of my head. So he always reminds me of
Yeah.
Sagat out of Street Fighter, who is a bald man with an eye patch. Um, you can make your own minds up as to why I might struggle with that.
Yep.
I mean, it's a cosplay idea I could do if I was skinnier and had longer legs.
But there we go. So star rating time. What are you going to give this one? So you gave 4.5 to the women's. What are you giving this?
Sorry, this gets a 4. It's not
That's
quite as
not,
good as the
you
women's
don't
match.
need to apologise. I mean, that's still an
Yeah,
incredible
it,
rating for a
yeah,
match. If you
it's not quite as good as the women's match for me because although you've got some great performers, the end just felt a little bit rushed. I'd have loved a bit of back and forth between Edge and Seth, and we didn't quite get it. It was quite quick. Um, there were some lovely little moments in there, like Dominic Mysterio eliminating Corbin, um, like Damian Priest eliminating Miz and Morrison, eliminating Kane.
oh
That's
yeah,
what it
oh we
that
forgot the whole Bad Bunny thing.
that's what this is about, and it's really, the Rumble's always about making stars and moving people up to the next level. And I think both matches did that. I think,
Yeah.
with the women's match for Rhea and Bianca, we saw two people, in terms of Bianca stepping up to main event level. In terms of Rhea, we're going to be seeing her on Raw or SmackDown really soon because, of the showing she put out. And the men's match, they did that with, they did that with Damien. It just like, you don't eliminate the tag team champs and eliminate Kane, and then that's never mentioned again. It becomes a big thing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, we also forgot the whole Bad Bunny thing. Yeah, that was shit. We're not going to talk about it because
I,
it was
I've
awful.
never, I'll be honest.
Never heard of him. Never.
I've never heard of him. I was sat there just thinking, who's this clown? The general, I mean, obviously he's apparently the biggest selling Latino artist in the world, so clearly I probably should have heard of him, and he's very popular. But the general consensus on my Twitter feed was, "Who's this?"
He has
I think
48
a friend of,
million Spotify monthly listeners.
I think a friend of mine. Um, that's nearly as many as the Timeless podcast.
He's the ninth most popular artist in the world. I've
Well,
never heard of him.
I think a friend of mine summed it up perfectly during the performance when she tweeted, "I know shit music, and this is shit music." Um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, there we go. So overall, then, John, I think the Royal Rumble 2021 was a success.
it's great. It's great. We're on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, we're on the road
And,
to Raymond James Stadium.
yeah, it's great. We're on the road to WrestleMania. I think, and for me, looking forward, it looks pretty clear to me that we're going to have Bianca versus Banks. But what I do like is it's not clear to me at all what way Edge is going to go. I think Edge Drew works. I think Edge Roman works.
Edge
So
Roman. The Battle of the
I,
Spears. Battle of the
I,
Spears.
I think yeah, except they'll probably throw fucking Goldberg in there as well. Um,
God. Oh, fuck. Oh, no.
and then and then rehire Rhino, and then you could have a sort of four corner spear / gore match, just a spear off.
Yep.
Um,
Well, there we go. John, thank you so much for being on the podcast these past few weeks. You can even
right?
check out John on the Invasion of the Dinosaurs podcast, which he wasn't even really even there for, but he's on it for 3 minutes talking about Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Who am I?
Yeah, you did an audio review. It was Aaron's birthday night, so he might have got a bit drunk. But you said,
I was just gonna say, had I had a drink? I
Yeah,
now
you remember the
vaguely,
thing?
yeah, I'd forgotten about that, but now I do vaguely remember it.
So yeah,
Oh,
he's even on that podcast as well. But no, John will be back around WrestleMania time to discuss the grandest stage of them all. 2 nights of Mania this year, but we'll condense the predictions down and the review down to one video each. But until then, though, we will see you very soon. I'll be back next week with Mr. Gallifrey 597 to talk about Avengers Age of Ultron. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon.
the only
Bye bye.
person who's paid as much as me to do these podcasts.